History of the Church Councils, Book 4, Article 697, to enjoy oneself and to lie carnally with women or with boys is no more sin than rubbing one's hands together. Who was that Pope? That's the Pope that issued Unum Sanctum, Pope Boniface VIII, 1294 to 1303, where he said nobody who wasn't a member of his church could be saved. He said in the Unum Sanctum, quote, which has never been altered, changed, or ascended by any Pope, we therefore assert, define, and pronounce that it is necessary to salvation to believe that every human being is subject to the pontiff of Rome. A sex pervert. You think we're going to be in the subject of the pontiff of Rome? He can go jump in the lake of fire. You think we're going to be in subjection to this bunch of dirty, godless, murdering, bloody, lying, stealing rascals? These perverted, wicked sinners who are just wicked and depraved as anybody on the face of this earth? For there is no difference, for all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. Every man at his best state is altogether vanity. You think that excluded the Holy Papa? You think when God said every man at his best state is altogether vanity, that he exempted a drunken murder in Rome? It was during the reign of Boniface that Dante visited Rome, and he described the Vatican as a sewer of corruption. And he assigned Pope Boniface, Pope Nicholas III, and Pope Clement V to the lower part of hell. And Dante was a baptized, sacramental, Eucharistic Catholic. Blessed Joseph, blessed John the Baptist. Now, I know some of you Catholics don't like that, but when could a Catholic ever stand the truth? In North Ireland, they murder Protestants for saying these kind of things. In Mexico, they cut them up with machetes. In South America, they cut them up with machetes and nail them to pieces of wood. When could a dirty, godless, Bible-defying, Christ-rejecting, idolatrous image worshiper ever stand to have his idol kicked? You tell me. Then from 1305 to 1377, the papal palace was at France. During this time, Petrarch accused the papal household of rape, adultery, and all manner of fornication, and since the popes were so immoral, it is no wonder that priests were no better. Consequently, in many parishes, men insisted on priests keeping concubines so they could protect their own families. You'll find that in every history on the Catholic Church. And then we know about the 3 popes that came up. But that's only the beginning of it. Pope John committed perversity with the wife of his brother, incest with holy nuns, intercourse with virgins, adultery with the married, and all sorts of sex crimes. He was publicly called the devil incarnate. Sacrorum Councilorium, volume 27, page 663. You say, what pope was that? Pope John 23rd. Do you see now why your dear Roman Catholic friend, the Associated Press, were so anxious to have you think that that pope that showed up 12 years ago was Pope John the 23rd? No wonder. Don't you know they like to cover up a record like that as quick as they could cover it up? Yeah, don't you know Life and Look in Time magazine and that boob tube some of you people been watching went right along with it and fooled you again? Pope Pius II, 1458 to 1464, was said to have been the father of many illegitimate children. He spoke, quote, openly of the methods he used to seduce women, encouraged young men to, and even offered to instruct them in methods of self-indulgence. Haley's Bible Handbook, page 779. And here comes Papa Sixtus IV, 1471 to 1484, 2 illegitimate children born to him by his mistress Theresa, which he made cardinals. Nice way to pay him back for his work. Annual of Universal Church History, volume 2, page 905. He financed wars by selling church offices to the highest bidder. He made 8 of his nephews cardinals, while some of them were still boys. Pope Innocent VIII had 16 children by various women. He did not deny that these were his children. For their marriage was celebrated in the Vatican. We're not talking about something done undercover. We're talking about the absolute facts of history where anybody can check them. We're talking about the great mother prostitute, the mother of abominations and harlots of the earth, that great ecclesiastical whore, the Roman Catholic Church. We are not talking about the individual Catholic lay members who may have been saved by disobeying the catechism, from which we'll read a little bit later. We're talking about the leaders, the so-called vicars of Christ, the great godless, bloody, depraved, unsaved sex perverts and monsters who profess to be the vicar of Christ on the earth. Alexander VI was the most corrupt of the Renaissance popes. He lived in public incest with his 2 sisters and his own daughter. He was both the father and lover of his daughter Lucretia, from whom it is said he got a child. Read The Rise and Fall of the Roman Church by Peterson, page 180. Concerning Pope Paul, 1534 to 1549, Pope Paul III, even the pro-Catholic Life magazine, the wife of the editor is Claire Booth Luce, said that as Cardinal Pope Paul III had fathered 3 sons and a daughter, and the day of his coronation he celebrated the baptism of his 2 great-grandchildren. Imagine that, by a bunch of folks that believe the priest can't marry. Isn't that too much? I mean, how wild can you get, kid? Then he appointed 2 of his teenage nephews as cardinals. He sponsored festivals with singers, dancers, and jesters, and he sought his advice from astrologers, according to Life magazine, July the 5th, 1963. Imagine an enlightened American being a Roman Catholic. Imagine that. During these days, Martin Luther was still a priest of the Papal Church, and he journeyed to Rome. And he hadn't spent much time in Rome when he saw that Rome was nothing but a dirty hellhole and a sink of iniquity. He said, no one can imagine what sins and infamous actions are committed in Rome. Priests told indecent jokes, used unlawful profanity even during Mass, and he described the popes that time as being worse in conduct than pagan emperors. And he told how the papal court was served at supper by 12 naked girls. Topless and bottomless, brother. One day during Luther's visit to Rome, he noticed a statue on one of the public streets that led to St. Peter's. The statue aroused his amazement, for it was a statue of a pope, yet it was a woman. She was holding a scepter, wore a papal mantle, and had an infant in her arms. He came to find out this was a statue of a female pope. There's one for you. Imagine people calling her father. What was she, a lesbian? It was a statue of disgust to the popes. Consequently, no pope would ever pass down this street. I am astonished, said Luther, how the popes allowed the statue to remain. History of the Reformation, page 56 and 59. And 40 years after Luther's death, the statue was removed by Pope Sixtus. But who was that female Holy Father? And who are these male fathers that dress like pregnant women? Well, she was born in Rhineland at Engelheim. She won acclaim at Mainz for her learning. She later distinguished herself as a man and entered the celebrated monastery of Fulda between Frankfurt and Berba. She studied in England and Athens and received the position of a teacher in the School of Grisorium at Rome, an ancient college for deacons. Here she gained so much influence that when Pope Leo IV died, she disguised herself as a man and was elected pope. However, her pontificate of 2 years, 1 month, and 4 days later, her sex was discovered. While taking part in a procession, she gave birth to a baby and died. And it was on this spot where the Holy Father gave birth to an illegitimate son that a statue was erected of a female pope. How's that for women to live? Will that do you? Now, if you want to know why there's a cause for reform, you can see it when you read the history of these godless, depraved blasphemers who call themselves the vicars of Christ. Not a bunch of drunken muttonheads. You'll find this material documented in Medieval Italy, page 3392, and Bauer's History of the Popes, volume 1, page 226, and the work on Babylon Mystery Religion by Woodrow, page 99 and page 100. There are also numerous other references.